This is Grandmaster Gambardella with the 6th skill set you need to know to be a great MMA fighter. And that's how to eat like a champion. It always amazes me that MMA fighters don't know how to eat properly. 2 recent examples come to mind. One was a fighter from Brazil who did not make the weight for his championship fight, and so the fight had to be changed to 3 non-championship rounds. So he didn't get to fight for a championship because he couldn't make the weight. He didn't show up for the fight and was subsequently, he didn't show up, and he was thrown out of the fight, out of the UFC because of this. Personally, I do know people that trained with him and told me that he was eating hamburgers and french fries and other junk food before the fight. Perhaps he was sick and didn't realize how much overweight he was. There might be several good reasons he did not make the weight, but I can assure you there are a lot more good reasons he should have made the weight. But he must not know or did not know how to follow a proper diet before his fight. Why, I don't know, but I do know he wasn't sick or hurt, so there was no sensible reason for him to not make the weight for the championship fight. The correct way to make weight is to make it 2 to 4 weeks before the fight and to stay there. To stay in condition and be ready for the fight. Don't try to make the weight with only a few days' notice. Too many fighters try to keep the extra weight on for as long as possible and then do drastic things to make the weight the day or the 2 days before the fight. This is not a great idea or a great way to be an MMA champion. Once again, I would like to reference my son, Teddy Gambardella, who is a champion wrestler. Wrestlers are always having to make weight for their fights, for their matches. And I was on a bus ride once with Teddy to a national tournament with the Team Texas members. 14-hour bus ride. And only 2 of the wrestlers on that entire trip were allowed to even drink a sip of water. Not one of them were allowed to eat. They all had to make weight. Some even had to jog on the bus and wear sweatsuits on the bus and were spitting in the cup just to lose a few ounces. It was not a pleasant ride for Team Texas, but they all made weight because all of them were very near the weight they needed to make. They only had to do a few sensible things during the next couple of hours to make the weight. Then after they made the weight, they could eat and drink, but only sensibly, because in a wrestling tournament, you have to make the weight again the next day. So they can't just go and eat and become fat. Once I knew a wrestler who was determined to make the weight, and he did not deserve to be at that weight. He was way too high, and he did not eat for 4 to 5 days a week. This is ridiculous. And most wrestling associations will now weigh in their wrestlers at the beginning of the season and will not allow them to deviate more than 7 pounds either way to make their weight all year. When my son was going to his last state championship, there were 2 other wrestlers on his team who could have made it to state if they wrestled hard and if they had made the weight. One of them watched his diet and ran 4 miles the night before the weigh-in. The other wrestler ate some pizza and said he was going to run it off in the morning. Weigh-ins were at 8 p.m., and so he was going to get up at 5 and run for 3 hours. He didn't make it. It didn't work. I don't think he wanted it to work. He was actually looking for an easy way out of making the weight and not having to try and win a state championship. If you're an MMA fighter, the sensible thing to do is to stay in shape and not have to cut too much weight. I strongly do not approve of fighters in any sport that spend hours in a steam room trying to make weight. One of the last UFC fighters on the show was a man who actually tried to make weight and passed out in the steam room after hours and had to drag him out, to revive him, slap him around, put him back in the steam. This sends a terrible message to the other MMA fighters out there, because there are significant long-term health problems that can occur when you try to lose that much weight too fast. And when you're wearing clothes, plastic sweatsuits and stuff like that. People that wear 3 and 4 sweatsuits and a skull cap. This is not the proper way for you to make weight. Eating sensible, high-protein foods and not snacking junk foods. Not drinking alcohol and sweet drinks or too many cold, soft drinks. Not eating late at night, not eating white breads and candy and cake and french fries, not eating too much fast food. Those are sensible things. A good breakfast, a nutritious lunch, and a healthy dinner are great ways to make and keep your weight. There are thousands of good books on diets and nutrition, and you can read them, and there are thousands of programs you can follow online that keep you healthy and keep you at the same weight. If you're an MMA professional, then you must have nutritional advice in your coaching staff. Not necessarily on a full-time basis, but you definitely, if you plan on being in this sport for a long time, need someone to teach and train you how to eat properly, where, what, and when you can and should eat. It is money well spent and could make you a lot more if you plan on being a professional MMA fighter. Not making weight or knowing what to eat will cost you a lot more in the long run if you plan on being an MMA champion. This is Grandmaster Gambardella. I'll see you next time.